It was supposed to be one of those days you don't remember. The kind that slips through your fingers before you even realize it mattered. Friday, 7th period, calculus. Spring break was just hours away and nobody, not a single person in that classroom was mentally present. Not even Mr. Callahan. He leaned casually against his desk, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened like he'd already checked out for the week. Instead of teaching derivatives or integrals, he had Sporkle pulled up on the projector. "All right," he said with a grin, clicking to the next quiz. "Brand logos. Let's see how educated you all really are." A few kids laughed. Most of us just didn't care. Phones buzzed under desks. Someone in the back was half asleep. I remember glancing at the clock. 2:47 p.m. 13 minutes left. Freedom. "Next one," Mr. Callahan said. A blurry logo appeared on the screen. There was a pause, then Jason, sitting 2 rows ahead of me, raised his hand halfway. "Antidays." Click. Correct. And then, everything changed. The loudspeaker cracked to life. A burst of static. Then the dean's voice. But something was wrong. Immediately wrong. "This is not a drill." The room froze. Every single head snapped toward the ceiling speaker. "I repeat, this is not a drill. All teachers initiate lockdown procedures immediately. Lock doors, turn off lights, stay out of sight." His voice wasn't calm. It wasn't controlled. It was shaking, panicked. And that's when the fear started creeping in. Mr. Callahan didn't hesitate. The easygoing, relaxed teacher we knew vanished instantly. "Everyone, back corner, now." The lights went out. The room dropped into darkness. Chairs scraped against the floor as 30 students rushed, tripping over backpacks, knocking into desks. Someone cursed under their breath. I squeezed into the back corner with the rest of them. Too many bodies, too little space. The door clicked shut, locked. And then, silence. Not normal silence. The kind that presses against your ears. The kind that makes every breath feel too loud. Someone beside me was whispering prayers. Another girl was quietly crying. I could feel my own heartbeat pounding against my ribs. Faster, louder, harder. What's happening? No one knew. No one spoke. We just waited. Then, the power cut. A faint electrical buzz from the back panel suddenly died. Everything went completely still, completely dead. And that's when it hit all of us at once. This wasn't a drill. Minutes passed, or at least, I think they did. Time didn't feel real anymore. Every second stretched into something unbearable. And then, a sound. Faint at first, somewhere down the hallway. A voice. Screaming. Not yelling, not shouting, screaming. Raw, animalistic. The kind of scream that doesn't sound human anymore. It got louder, closer, fast. "Help!" A crash, metal banging violently. Lockers. Someone was slamming into lockers, over and over. "I'll kill you!" The words echoed through the hallway, loud, unhinged, terrifying. 2 girls next to me broke instantly. They started crying, loud, uncontrollable sobs. "Shh," Mr. Callahan hissed, his voice barely a whisper, but urgent. But it didn't matter. The sound outside was getting closer, 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 until it was right outside our door. Bang! The entire class flinched. Someone gasped. Bang, bang, bang! The door shook violently, like it was about to snap off its hinges. "Open up!" the man screamed. His voice was right there, right on the other side. One of the girls screamed, loud, uncontrolled, and the banging got worse, faster, harder, more desperate. "I know you're in there!" I stopped breathing, literally. I was afraid even the sound of air would give us away. Bang, bang, bang! It felt like forever. It probably wasn't more than 30 seconds. But in that moment, it felt like an eternity stretched into something unbearable. And then, it stopped. Silence.
No footsteps, no voice, nothing. And then, slowly, fading away, the sound of him moving down the hallway, still screaming, still slamming into lockers, but getting farther, farther, until nothing. No one moved, no one spoke. We just sat there, frozen, trying to process what just happened. I remember thinking one thing over and over again. That could have been the moment we died, and we all knew it. 10 minutes later, the loudspeaker came back on, this time calmer, controlled, but still tense. Attention, lockdown is still in effect. A pause. Then, there is an individual in the building. Staff are unsure if the individual is armed. A ripple of fear moved through the room. Even in the dark, I could feel it. Remain in your classrooms. Do not open the door for anyone. The speaker clicked off. And just like that, we were trapped. But what none of us knew, what none of us could even imagine, was that this was only the beginning. Because somewhere in that school, the man wasn't done, and he wasn't alone.
The first scream didn't end the nightmare. It only opened the door. While we sat frozen in that dark calculus classroom, there were hundreds of other students across the school, confused, exposed, unprepared. And some of them were a lot closer to the danger than we were. Earlier that day, 6th grade lunch. The cafeteria was loud. Not just loud, chaotic. Chairs scraping, trays slamming, kids shouting across tables like it was a competition. It was first lunch period, meaning mostly 6th graders filled the room, along with a handful of 7th graders who got lucky with early lunch. Outside, the sky was dark. Heavy clouds rolled in, pressing low over the school. Rain tapped against the windows in uneven bursts. It felt like a storm was coming. At one of the tables near the back glass wall sat Eric and his friends. Half-eaten pizza slices, chocolate milk cartons, the usual. "I'm telling you," Eric said, leaning forward, "if we get even one homework assignment over break, I'm not doing it." His friend laughed. "Yeah, right, you say that every time." Then, boom! The sound cracked through the air. Loud, sharp, close. The entire cafeteria paused, just for a second. Then boom, boom, boom! 4 total. Some kids ducked, others laughed nervously. A few looked toward the windows. "Thunder?" someone said. "Yeah, probably," another replied. But Eric didn't move. He kept staring toward the glass wall. Something felt wrong. Those didn't sound like thunder. They were too sharp, too controlled. And then, someone screamed. It started near the front of the cafeteria. A tray crashed to the floor. Milk splashed across the tiles. "Get inside, now!" an adult voice shouted. Campus security burst through the side doors. Their faces were tense, serious. "Move! Everyone into the multi-purpose room, now!" Panic spread instantly. Kids started running, shoving, dropping food. Some didn't even understand what was happening, they just followed the crowd. Eric and his friends grabbed their stuff and rushed with the others. Behind them, the cafeteria doors slammed shut. The multi-purpose room. It was massive. A wide open space used for assemblies and school events. Normally, it felt safe. Now, it felt like a trap. Students flooded inside, dozens, then hundreds. Teachers stood at every exit, blocking doors, locking them. "Sit down, stay together," one teacher yelled. At the back of the room, a full wall of glass windows. Clear view of the outside. And that's when Eric noticed something else. Adults were rushing to the windows.
pulling down curtains. Fast. Too fast. "What's going on?" Eric muttered. His friend grabbed his arm. "Ask someone." So he did. He walked over to one of the staff members near the wall. "Hey, what's happening?" The teacher hesitated. Just for a second, like they weren't supposed to say anything. Then they leaned down slightly, lowered their voice. "There's a man outside." Eric's stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" The teacher glanced toward the covered windows, then back at him. "He lives across the street." A pause. "He's not well." Eric felt a chill run down his spine. He's been watching students for weeks. "What?" "And today," the teacher continued, voice even quieter now, "he snapped." Eric's mouth dried. "He's armed." The words hit like a punch. "And he told officers," the teacher swallowed, "that if anyone comes near him, he'll kill them." Eric just stared. "And the worst part?" The teacher hesitated again, then said, "He's been trying to get onto school property." Eric stepped back slowly, heart pounding. When he returned to his friends, they immediately started asking questions. "What did they say? What's happening? Was it thunder?" Eric shook his head. "No." He looked around the room, at all the students, at the doors, at the covered windows. No, it wasn't thunder. Minutes passed, but it felt longer. The room was filled with whispers, fear spreading like a virus. Then, a faint sound from outside, a voice, muffled, but getting louder. Some kids near the back turned toward the windows. Even with the curtains, you could still hear it. A man shouting, angry, unstable. "I see you in there!" A few kids screamed. Others backed away from the glass. "You think you're safe?" Something hit the outside wall. Hard. Bang! The entire room flinched. "Stay away from the windows," a teacher shouted. Eric's chest tightened. The man was right outside. Right there. And for a terrifying moment, it felt like the walls between them meant nothing. An hour passed, or at least that's what they were told later. Inside that room, time didn't exist. Eventually, police sirens echoed faintly in the distance, then closer, then louder. Commands shouted outside, voices overlapping, and then silence. One by one, students were escorted out. Carefully, slowly. The lockdown wasn't over, but the immediate threat had been contained, or at least, that's what everyone thought. But that wasn't the truth, because while police were dealing with the man outside, while students were being moved, while teachers were trying to regain control, there was still someone inside the school. Someone no one had seen. Someone no one had accounted for. And deep below the building, in the dark, silent basement, someone else was about to come face to face with him.
By the time the chaos reached the lower levels of the school, it was already too late. Most students didn't even know the basement existed. It wasn't on any tour, not on any map. Just a forgotten level beneath the building, used for storage, wiring, and old equipment no one cared about anymore. But for Ryan Mitchell, it was his entire world. Earlier, 2:30 p.m., Ryan sat alone in the basement office. A half-eaten sandwich rested on a napkin beside his keyboard. The glow of his monitor reflected faintly in his eyes as lines of code scrolled across the screen. Fresh out of college, first real job, back at his old high school. It felt strange being here again,
but also comforting. Upstairs, students rushed through hallways, teachers gave lectures. Life moved like normal. Down here, silence, cold air, the low hum of machines. Ryan leaned back in his chair, taking a sip of soda. "Man, I do not miss high school," he muttered. His phone buzzed. A message from Dave. "Printer's dead again. Want to come up later?" Ryan smirked. "Later, on break RN." He set his phone down, took another bite of his sandwich, and then his phone rang. Unknown number. He frowned, answered it. "Hello? Ryan?" A woman's voice, tense, fast. "Yes? This is the front office. The school is going into lockdown." Ryan sat up straight. "What? Why?" "There's an individual in the building, possibly armed." His stomach dropped. "Turn off the lights, stay where you are, do not come upstairs." Click. The call ended. And just like that, the silence in the basement changed. It wasn't peaceful anymore. It was heavy. Ryan stood quickly. His chair rolled back across the floor. He moved fast. Lights off, computer screen dark, office swallowed in shadows. There was no door to the office, just an open entrance leading into a wider basement area. And the main basement door didn't even lock properly. "Perfect," Ryan whispered. He grabbed his phone, texted Dave, "What's going on?" No reply. Texted Gary, "You good?" Nothing. Ryan swallowed. Hard. Then he sat, waiting. Minutes passed. No sounds from above, no footsteps, no voices. Just the low hum of distant machinery and his own breathing. He tried distracting himself, opened a game on his phone. Anything to kill time. Anything to ignore the fear building in his chest. 20 minutes, maybe more. And then, a sound. The basement door. Creak. Ryan froze. That door. No one used it during lockdown. No one should be coming down here. His heart started pounding. Footsteps. Fast. Heavy. Coming down the stairs. Closer.
Ryan pushed his chair back, silently, dropped to the floor, crawled under his desk. His breathing became shallow, controlled. The footsteps reached the bottom, paused, then moved toward the office. Step, step, step. Someone entered, but didn't turn on the lights. Silence. Ryan pressed his hand over his mouth. Every instinct in his body screamed, "Don't move, don't breathe, don't exist." And then his phone lit up. Ding! The sound was small, tiny, but in that silence, it was deafening. Ryan's entire body went cold. The footsteps stopped, then slowly turned toward him. Step, step, closer. Ryan shut his eyes tight. This is it. This is how I die. The footsteps stopped right in front of the desk, and suddenly Ryan snapped. He couldn't take it. He lunged out from under the desk, hands raised, voice shaking. "Please, don't shoot." A hand grabbed his arm, yanked him up. "It's okay." Ryan blinked, disoriented. A man stood in front of him, mid-40s, red plaid shirt, jeans, a dark red cap pulled low over his eyes. "Relax," the man said quickly. "I'm hiding too." Ryan stared at him, heart still racing. You're not..." "No, I'm not gonna hurt you." Ryan hesitated, then nodded slowly. "What's going on up there?" Ryan whispered. The man ignored the question, looked around instead, scanning, calculating. "Is there another exit down here?" Ryan pointed weakly. "Yeah, that way. Leads outside." The man nodded. Ryan swallowed. Something felt off.
"Who are you?" he asked. A pause. Then the man spoke. "I came to pick up my son," he said. "The teacher told me to hide." Ryan frowned slightly. Something didn't sit right. Then, Ryan looked down at his phone. The message from Dave. He opened it, and everything inside him collapsed. "Dude, this is insane. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." Ryan's hands started shaking. Slowly, very slowly, he looked up at the man. Red shirt, red cap. The man noticed. Their eyes locked. And in that moment, they both understood. Ryan knew, and the man knew that Ryan knew. A small shift in the man's expression, subtle but terrifying. Ryan's instincts kicked in. Run. He turned, sprinted toward the stairs. Bang! The gunshot exploded through the basement. Metal rang as the bullet ricocheted off something behind him. Ryan didn't stop, didn't look back, didn't think. He ran, faster than he ever had in his life. Up the stairs, two at a time, heart pounding, legs burning, burst through the basement door and into chaos. Police, guns drawn, shouting, "Get down!" Ryan collapsed to the floor, hands over his head. Behind him, the basement door slammed open. The man stepped out, gun in hand, and instantly police surrounded him. "Drop the weapon." A pause, a heartbeat, then the gun hit the ground. And just like that, it was over. Later, Ryan sat outside the school, wrapped in a blanket, hands still shaking. Ambulances, police cars, students crying, parents arriving, chaos slowly turning into reality. He stared at the ground, still hearing it, that gunshot, that moment, that look. Mr. Buckley survived, barely. The man arrested, but no one ever found out why. No motive, no explanation, no warning, just violence, and the terrifying realization that sometimes there is no reason. But one question remained. How did he get in? And more importantly, was he really the only one?
For most people, the story ended that day. The man was arrested. The wounded teacher survived. The lockdown was lifted. News channels ran the headline for a week. Then it faded, like everything else does. But for the people who were there, it never really ended. 3 weeks later, the school reopened. Same hallways, same classrooms, same schedules. But nothing felt the same. Locks had been replaced, security cameras installed, police presence increased. And yet, there was still something in the air. Something heavy, something unfinished. Ryan Mitchell felt it the most. He returned to the basement. Same desk, same computers, same cold air humming through the vents. But now, every shadow felt alive. Every sound meant something. Every silence felt wrong. He tried to move on, tried to convince himself it was over, that the man was caught, that everything was under control. But one thought kept coming back, over and over and over again. How did he get in? The official story didn't make sense. They said he entered through a side door, unsecured. But Ryan knew something most people didn't. That basement door, it hadn't been opened from the outside, not in weeks. The discovery. It happened on a Tuesday, late afternoon. Ryan was alone again. Dave and Gary had already gone home. He was finishing up a system check when something strange popped up on his screen. A log file. Time-stamped records of door access. He frowned, scrolled. Front entrance? Checked. Side doors? Checked. Emergency exits? Checked. Then he saw it. Basement access. 2:12 p.m. Ryan froze. That couldn't be right.
The lockdown started at 2:47. The man was reported inside after that. So how? Ryan scrolled further. No exit log, no entry record after, just that one timestamp, 2:12 p.m. 35 minutes before the lockdown. Ryan's mouth dried. That meant the man was already inside the school before anyone even knew something was wrong. But then, Ryan noticed something else. Another entry. One that didn't belong. Storage room C. Ryan frowned. Storage room C? That was impossible. That room was supposed to be sealed. Storage room C. The door hadn't been opened in years. At least, that's what everyone believed. Ryan stood in front of it now, heart pounding. The hallway was empty, lights flickering faintly above. The air felt colder here, heavier. He reached for the handle, paused. Something inside him screamed, "Don't." But he ignored it. Slowly, he turned the handle. Creak. The door opened. Darkness. Complete. Ryan pulled out his phone, turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the black. Dust floated in the air. Old shelves, broken equipment, nothing unusual at first. Then, he saw it. The wall. Scratches. Deep. Uneven, like something had been dragged across it, over and over and over again. Ryan stepped closer, his breath caught. Words carved on the wall, dozens of them, layered over each other, messy, violent, desperate. He raised the light and read, "Don't let them see you." His chest tightened. Below it, another message, "Stay quiet." And below that, "He's still here." Ryan stumbled back. "No," he whispered. "That didn't make sense. The man was arrested. He was gone. This had to be old. Had to be." Then, Ryan noticed something else. In the corner of the room, a shape, something that didn't belong. A sleeping bag, fresh, not dusty, not old, used, recently. Ryan's heart stopped. Then, a sound. Behind him, a soft creak from the hallway. Ryan turned slowly. The door, still open. The hallway beyond it, dark, empty. But then, a shadow moved, just for a second, at the edge of the light. Ryan's breath hitched. "Hello?" No answer. He took a step forward, slow, careful. Then, a whisper, right behind him. "So, you found it." His entire body locked. That voice, it wasn't the same man. This one was calm, controlled, and right next to his ear. Ryan turned. Nothing. The room was empty. The hallway, empty. But the feeling didn't leave. He ran. Out of the room, down the hallway, up the stairs, not stopping, not looking back. The truth. The police searched again, top to bottom, every room, every hallway, every inch. They found nothing. No second man, no evidence, no explanation. Just an empty storage room and scratches on the wall. Final report. Unofficial. One intruder, captured. One weapon, recovered. One motive, unknown. Additional presence, unconfirmed. Ryan never went back. He quit 2 days later, moved out of town, started over. But even now, years later, there's one thing he still can't forget. That voice. Not angry, not loud, just calm, close, too close. And sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet,
He still hears it, whispering, "Stay quiet." He's still here.